When a deer hangs tangled in a wire fence and you walk toward it with cutters in your hand, it does not see rescue coming. It sees the most dangerous predator that has ever lived closing in for the kill, and its body believes that completely. We know this because of what its blood looks like. Researchers measuring stress hormones in wild deer found something that should not make sense. A deer caught in a fence runs higher levels of cortisol, the body's emergency chemical, than a deer that has been shot. Being trapped and watched and approached terrifies it more than a bullet does. So before you ever reach it, the animal has already decided what you are, and it has not decided friend, which opens a question that only gets stranger the longer you sit with it. Because sometimes, in the middle of that terror with a human bearing down on it, a trapped animal does the one thing its entire history says it must never do. It stops fighting. It goes still. And it turns not away from the human but toward them. The real question is what is actually happening inside that decision, and the honest answer is probably not what you think. Start with what being trapped does to a wild body. The instant it loses the ability to move, its system floods. The heart rate doubles, then doubles again. The muscles don't just tense, they lock, the way a body locks when it has bet everything on a single outcome. Wildlife rehabilitators describe a trapped animal as having gone somewhere else. Still breathing, eyes open, but no longer present to anything except the threat. And the threat, as far as its brain is concerned, is you. This is why the thrashing gets worse the closer you get. Every step you take, the animal's alarm system reads as the final stage of a hunt. It spends the last of its strength on the only answer its species has ever had. Run, and it can't. Here is the part almost nobody expects. When that animal finally goes calm, it is rarely because it has understood that you are kind. It is because you have broken the pattern. A predator coming to kill moves fast in a straight line locked on the body. You move slowly, you don't lunge, you touch the rope, not the animal. You produce none of the speed, none of the geometry that a hunt is made of. The animal's brain searches its entire library of dangers for something that matches you and comes back with nothing. With no pattern to fire against, the kill response stalls, so it waits. This is not trust exactly. It is an alarm with nothing left to ring at. Hold that idea and go down into the cold water off San Francisco. December 11, 2005. A crab fisherman 18 miles out east of the Farallon Islands finds a female humpback whale in trouble. 50 feet long, 50 tons. Wrapped in a web of crab lines, hundreds of pounds of traps hanging off her body, ropes sewing into her mouth and fins dragging her under. She is spending everything she has just to keep her blowhole in the air. 4 divers go in with curved knives, knowing that one reflexive slap of that tail would kill any of them instantly. And here is what they all remember. The moment they entered the water, she stopped fighting. For over an hour she held still at the surface, while strangers cut ropes from across her enormous body, close enough the entire time to feel her breathe. That much the mechanism explains. The divers moved slowly. They never matched the shape of a hunt. Her alarm system had nothing to lock onto, so she waited, but the mechanism does not explain what she did next. When the final rope fell away, she did not leave. The diver James Mosquito said she swam in slow, wide circles, then came back. She went to each of the 4 men, one at a time, and pushed them gently with the front of her jaw, moving from one to the next. He said she stopped a foot from his face and held there, her eye following him, and that he would never be the same. Think about that for a second. A 50-ton animal, finally free, the whole open ocean in front of her. And what she chose to do with that freedom was turn back toward the small, soft creatures who had been coming at her with blades. If you have ever had an animal hold your eyes a beat too long, and felt something move between you that you had no words for, you already know what those divers were reaching for when they tried to describe it. Now you should be skeptical here, because this is exactly the kind of story we are built to fall for. We see gratitude because we are desperate to. And the most honest voice in that whole rescue agreed with you. One of the men who organized it said it plainly afterward. You hate to humanize too much, he said. Nobody really knows what was in its mind. He is right. We cannot climb inside a whale's skull. A nudge is not a thank you. So put the ocean down and go to a place where the animals are not the ones being read. They are the ones doing the reading. Volcanoes National Park, Rwanda, July 17, 2012. A tracker named John Ndayambage spots a poacher's snare in the grass beside a family of mountain gorillas. A rope noose on a bent branch, set for antelope, lethal to a young gorilla. Days earlier, an infant in that same area had died in one. He steps toward it to disarm it, and a silverback named Vubu grunts at him, a warning, telling the human to back away. Then two 4-year-olds move. A young male Arwema jumps onto the bent branch and snaps the tension out of it. A young female Dukor pulls the noose apart. They spot a second snare the tracker had walked straight past, and with a third youngster they tear that one apart too. Seconds start to finish. They knew what it was. They knew exactly where it breaks. This was not a fluke. Dian Fossey wrote decades earlier about guerrilla families she called trapwise. Groups that would deliberately bend their path wide around a line of snares. The forest had been teaching them for generations, and now the children were not only avoiding the traps. They were taking them apart, and here is what should land hard. Every animal in this story needed saving from the exact same thing: the whale's ropes, the gorilla's snare. The hook we are about to get to, none of it was nature, we built all of it. The thing each of these creatures had to be rescued from was us, which turns the original question inside out. We keep asking whether wild animals understand that we are trying to help them. Those young gorillas understood our traps better than we understand their minds. And the deeper science only sharpens it. In 2007, neuroscientists studying the brain of a humpback whale found something they had not expected to be there: spindle neurons. Von Economo neurons, a specialized cell long believed to exist only in humans and great apes, tied to empathy and to fast, intuitive social judgment. They are in humpbacks. They are in bottlenose dolphins. They are in elephants. The machinery for exactly the kind of reading we keep witnessing is sitting inside those skulls. Whether it fired that afternoon off San Francisco is something no brain scan can ever go back and tell us. Which brings us, finally, to a night dive off Kona, Hawaii. January 11th, 2013. A bottlenose dolphin, one of the species that carries those very cells, comes out of the dark and stops 3 feet from a diver named Keller Larrows and squeaks. It does not flee. It rolls onto its side and holds there, and he sees the fishing line cinched into its fin, the hook buried in the flesh. He reaches for the small shears in his suit, and the dolphin floats motionless against his hands while he cuts, the way you hold still for someone drawing a splinter out of your skin. The line falls away, and then it slips back into the black. That dolphin had no way of knowing Larrows wasn't holding a spear. None. Put yourself in its place. Bleeding, exhausted, a strange shape looming over you with something sharp in its grip. Would you have swum toward it? It did, so here is the answer as far as the science can honestly give one. Probably these animals do not understand our intentions the way another person would. What they can do, what the data actually shows, is suspend the single deepest reflex they own when a strange creature approaches without the shape of a hunt. They hold still beside the blade. They make one calculation nothing in their evolution prepared them for. This one is not here to kill me. And then sometimes when they are free and could vanish, they turn back instead. Maybe that is not knowing in the way you know. But it is a wild mind in the most dangerous moment of its life, choosing to trust the one species on Earth its body is most afraid of. And when we lean in close to those moments, hunting for proof of what the animal felt, we keep finding the same thing looking back at us. Ourselves, the deer in the fence, the whale in the ropes. The dolphin in the line. Each one, at the worst moment of its life, decided the predator in front of it was something it had never seen before, not a threat. We may never prove they know we are trying to save them, but every so often, one of them decides to believe it anyway and lets the most dangerous animal alive come close.